Welcome to Smell of Page. The Treasure Box, written by Sarojini Sinha. Chapter 14. Back home, they were astonished to find Jagannath waiting outside. "What are you doing here? Where have you come from?" Govind demanded. Jagannath was hungry, tired and frightened. He started dithering. I walked down from Bulandshahr. "Everybody is leaving Delhi, and like a fool, you have returned?" Govind snapped. "Had we left, what would have happened to you, you fool?" Jagannath burst out crying. So Bola said kindly, "Take it easy. I shall get you something to eat." After eating, Jagannath felt better. He told them he had left Bulandshahr because he wanted to be in Delhi to fight the foreigners. So he had left a note for his mother, slipped out of the house and joined a group of sepoys who were coming to Delhi. They reached Delhi just as the British assault started. Sepoys waited outside Delhi, and when they learned of the British victory, dispersed as fast as they could. Jagannath, however, entered the city. No one challenged the ill-fed, poorly dressed boy. He was shocked to see the city's plight, with houses destroyed and the dead and wounded lying unattended. Hungry cats and many dogs prowled the streets, while cages with skeleton of birds in them hung in the windows of the empty houses. The three boys decided to stay put in Delhi till they could slip out and go to Bulandshahr. Don't stir out during the daytime, Govind cautioned the other two. The very next day they heard the sound of approaching feet. Some soldiers forced their way into the house. One of them slapped Govind, calling him a dirty rebel. Another asked in a menacing tone, "What valuables do you have? Where is the gold, silver and jewelry?" "There is nothing here," Govind replied, glad that his mother, brothers and sisters were safe in Bulandshahr. "Thank God," he said to himself. "The horse is no longer here, and I have thrown the gun away. If they had caught me with those around, I wonder what they would have done." "Don't try to be clever," one of the soldiers snapped. "Your house is so big and prosperous looking. Surely you have something of value." "These kids are Hindus," said a soldier. "What of it?" asked another. "Haven't you broken into enough houses to know that Hindus hide their valuables in the walls and Muslims beneath the floor?" They started tapping the walls with a rifle, but listening for the hollow sound that would indicate a secret hiding place for jewels and other valuables. Systematically, they searched every part of the house. In the meantime, the boys slipped out and hid in one of the ruined houses in the back lane. They knew the soldiers would find nothing and be in a nasty mood. It was best to keep out of their way. The boys returned after it was dark and could make out in the dim light several broken doors and windows. Cupboards had been ripped open and furniture smashed. Thousands of houses in Delhi had been plundered or destroyed. In the palace, the hall of audience had been turned into headquarters mess, and officers sprawled on the gliding chairs of the Mughal rulers puffed cheroots. The marble halls echoed the chip 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 of bayonets being used to press the precious stones out of the mosaic. The next morning, the boys surveyed the damage. Their own house was in a bad shape, but it was solidly built and could be repaired when better times returned. Govind fumed in hatred against those who had not only despoiled the beautiful city of Delhi, but were hanging rebels after mock trials. "Bola," said Govind, after they had got over the initial shock, "let's go to Salmabi's place. I do hope she has come to no harm." To their great relief, they found her sitting as usual outside her one-roomed hut. Seeing their worried faces, she laughed and said, "Who will harm me? I have nothing of value. Even my horse is old and not worth stealing." The boys had to manage with the very little food left in the house. They ate sparingly. One night, a man slipped in through the broken door. "Who's there?" asked Govind, his heart thudding within. A familiar voice replied, "It's me, Chindamani." Govind sprang to his feet. "What are you doing here? Don't you know that if the soldiers catch you, they will hang you?" "I came from Jhansi, thinking that if the peoples here come to know of the gallant fight the Rani is putting up, they would be encouraged to do likewise. But soon after my arrival, Delhi fell. I have been hiding in ruined houses, but now I have come to you for help and shelter." He looked shattered. His face was gaunt. Govind welcomed him. "You must be hungry, Chindamani. We don't have much to eat, but we will share what there is." "Don't worry, Govind. I have been through worse." They had a light meal and discussed the events of the last few days. Govind could not sleep, for he was quite worried about Chindamani's safety. In the morning he said, "Chindamani, you must stay in the upper rooms. From our terrace, you can jump to the terrace of the next house. Many of the houses are empty, and if the soldiers come looking for rebels, you must escape across the roof." Chindamani grinned. "Am I a cat to be able to scale the roofs?" "Don't joke, Chindamani. Your life's in terrible danger. We must think of a plan to get you out of Delhi." Early the next morning, marching feet could be heard again outside, and in no time, several soldiers were inside the house. They went up and down looking for rebels, but Chindamani had disappeared, and they found nothing suspicious. Conditions in the city grew worse day by day, and they had hardly anything to eat. The three boys could have slipped out of the city, but they could not think of leaving Chindamani behind. One afternoon, the boys were sitting in the courtyard when Jagannath saw a big rat and threw a stone at it. Instead of scurrying off, the rat dragged itself across the courtyard and hid behind an old bucket. Later, Bola found it dead, with its paws sticking up. The boys had seen several dead rats in the streets and the gutters, so they attached no significance to it. But when Chindamani heard of it, he was pale in the face. "It is the plague," he said ominously. The British too had discovered cases of plague. The disease starts in rats and spread to human beings. It is deadly and hardly anyone survives. The only escape is to quit the plague-infected area. So, to control the disease, the British ordered the people of Delhi to leave the city.